Well, the Monaco Grand Prix was not that entertaining. There was still a ton of stuff to break down in F1 fantasy. Charles broke the curse, and Haas had a Dis-Haas-Ter. Let's break it all down. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of F1 Fantasy Pole Position. It is Monday, May 27th. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we're going to get into a Monaco Grand Prix review episode and then some early Canada team thoughts just to kind of get those fleshed out. We do have a weekend break, so the doubleheader is over. So enjoy a little bit of a break from F1 Fantasy, but then get back in it because in June, we've got three races. We've got Canada, Spain, and Austria. Spain, Austria is going to be a double header, so definitely gear up for that. But the Monaco Grand Prix, like I said, not the most entertaining race in the world. The early crash and the early red flag kind of took any kind of hopeful strategy, any drama out of the race as everyone kind of just went to the end after their tire change at the beginning of the race. But Charles broke the curse, so that was a great F1 story in general. A lot of managers went with him in their F1 fantasy lineups. A lot of managers, including someone on this very YouTube channel and podcast right now, went with double Haas and did not have that great of a weekend. It was pretty painful to watch on Saturday and then to see it compounded on Sunday. But we are going to get into it. So let me know in the comments below how you guys did in Monaco. Hit me up on X at UNFPL. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast if you get a chance. Any support is greatly appreciated. We are over 400 subscribers now on the YouTube side. Looking to get to 500 for the summer break. So any help there is always greatly appreciated. But let's get into it now with the Monaco Grand Prix review. Some facts and stats from the race. The optimal team based on 114 million budget from F1FantasyTools.com. Ferrari, McLaren, Leclerc, Piastri, Tsunoda, Albon, and Bottas. That would have gotten you maximum points. So if you got anywhere close to that, great job by you. Positions gained, there were some thanks to the DNFs and the crashes. So Bottas had 4, Alonso 3, Zhou Guanyu with 2. Overtakes, again, Bottas with 4, Hulkenberg and Stroll with 3, but the Hulkenberg one did not really count. Well, it does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? Alonso and Magnussen with 2 as well in the overtakes. And then fastest pit stop, Red Bull, Aston Martin, and Kick Sauber take home the points. I believe Williams was up there for a second just because they were the only teams with pit stops at some point in the race. So yeah, that was pretty interesting there. But I mean, it was all about Charles yesterday, kind of a procession, but he finally got the win in Monaco. So great job by him. Optimal teams here, along with some different lineups that possibly you had. So the optimal team, like I already said, Ferrari, McLaren, Leclerc, Piastri, Bottas, Tsunoda, Albon, 113.1 million that would have cost you, and that would have taken home 261 points. If you somehow decided that you were not convinced by the data, the Friday performances, and you did not go with Leclerc, the best team you could have had out this weekend was Ferrari and McLaren, with Piastri as your 2-times driver, then Sainz, Bottas, Tsunoda, and Albon. That would have cost you 111.5 million for 221 points. If you still believed in Verstappen, this is probably the weirdest one I've seen so far this season. We are 8 races in. Compared to all the other lineups we've talked about, the best Max Verstappen lineup was to not have Max Verstappen as your 2-times DRS boost. I don't think we'll be saying that very often in the 2024 F1 fantasy season, but it was Ferrari and Williams with Leclerc as the 2-times, Verstappen as another driver, then Piastri, Bottas, and Sargent. That would have taken home 218 points. And then if you got excited about Friday's practice results, we're kind of buying into what Mercedes was putting down there on the track. You could have gone with a Mercedes lineup, and the best lineup with Mercedes in it was Ferrari, Mercedes, Leclerc with the 2-times, Piastri, Bottas, Tsunoda, and Albon. That would have cost you 109.2 million for 251 points. I know a lot of those lineup constructions were not really going around, but it was interesting to kind of look at the data. And As a double Haas owner, I would have loved to get 200 points, but it was not meant to be. The pain was real. But those are just some different constructions that you could have had across the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. King Charles, driver of the day. Was there any doubt as soon as he kind of got away there? It would have taken a mechanical failure or just like a mind fart from him to not bring it home. But sixth career win for the Monegasque driver, 24th career pole position, second driver of the day award in 2024. And this is his highest score in F1 fantasy over the last 2 seasons in a regular Grand Prix. So great job by him. Fantasy points 45, qualified first, finished first, positions gained 0, overtake 0, as it was just kind of, you know, how Monaco is a little bit. A lot of talk going around over the last 24 hours about what they can do to fix Monaco, kind of make it stay on the calendar, but still kind of make it interesting. Hopefully they come up with something because it is really cool. Saturday was really intense watching qualifying. Like that was one of the better qualifyings that we've had this season. Really fun stuff because you just know how much it means on Sunday. And yeah, while Sunday wasn't the most entertaining race and that early crash hurt a lot of it. Hopefully they can get something going here in Monaco to keep it on the calendar because I think it is a little bit in danger and that would not be ideal. Do you want to keep Monaco on the F1 calendar? Let me know in the comments below. Is it in like the drop zone? Is it in the bottom 5 tracks that you want to keep? You want to get cut? Let me know in the comments below. I think Monaco, I haven't been a F1 fan, like a hardcore F1 fan for that long, but even just being around for a few years, like Monaco is obviously quite special. And there are some other tracks that maybe I would rather not see. So I hope they keep it on the calendar for the future. The other thing about what happened in the Monaco Grand Prix, for the first time in F1 history, qualifying and the race top 10 were the same. So Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, George Russell, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon, and Pierre Gasly took 1 through 10 on Saturday and got through to Q3. That's how they qualified. And that's how the race ended. So yeah, just kind of further illustrating just what kind of a march around Monaco it was yesterday. I can't blame anyone if they were a little bit bored. It was still great to watch Charles take it home for the first time. I expect we'll see a couple more wins for him at his home race going forward, and to see his half-adopted brother throughout the week, Oscar Piastri, take second. So 2 Monegasque drivers on the podium. That is pretty special, even if it was not the most entertaining race. But yeah, just crazy like F1 history. This is the first time this has ever happened. So another reason that something should probably get fixed for Monaco. But now on to the therapy side of today's episode. Let me know in the comments below if you owned 1 Haas asset, if you owned 2 Haas assets, if some way, somehow you had triple Haas. This is a safe space. Let it all out. Crying emoji in the comments below. Hit me up on X at UNFPL. Let me know how to fix it because I'm still searching for answers 24 hours later after what was a Dis-Haas-Ter, as I have coined it up there. So Hulkenberg and Magnussen both got disqualified on Saturday after a technical breach in the regulation. So they were 12th and 14th in qualifying. So that was going to be pretty nice. You could kind of hope that they would get up there, but ended up with minus 15 points on Saturday. And then on like Sunday morning, I was on X and I was tweeting like, okay, well, the Haas DNFs or the disqualifications, like that sucks. Like we'll get through it, whatever. But it's actually going to lower the average. So maybe we'll get some tier C assets that jump up in price. It should be good for budget. That'll be good. A couple of DNFs here, as long as it's not Haas, it'll all be fine. And then boom, first lap. Oh, so rough. So somehow they still got a couple of overtakes in there, Hulkenberg and Magnussen, to not go complete disaster on everything, but minus 17 and minus 18 points on Sunday, minus 32 in total for Hulkenberg, minus 33 in total for Magnussen. There was kind of a lot of talk in the F1 fantasy community on Saturday, like some people were reaching out to me as well. So I apologize in advance for, I guess, in hindsight, not great advice. But at the time, people were like, should I final fix Hulkenberg or Magnussen out for like Albon or Sonoda if I can get there? And in my head, when I was thinking of the final fix, I was using it as more of a, I think you can get more out of your final fix, because I was thinking that they would just trundle around the back because they were starting 19th and 20th, obviously. And then, like, even if Albon finishes ninth, he's probably scoring like 4 or 5 points max in Sunday's race. He's not getting overtakes or positions gained. So, like, you're only gaining 4 or 5 points. Well, that was completely wrong, because you would have gained about 25 points from using the final fix chip. A lot of people use not a lot, but I saw some people using the no negative chip, and they had like one of the Haas drivers. So that saved them a ton of points as well. But yeah, this is, I don't want to say Charles like has transferred the curse on to myself. It's just an F1 fantasy manager. But last year in Coda, I used the limitless chip and I got Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton DQ'd after the race. And now this weekend, I've had the double Haas DNFs, disqualification. So let me know in the comments below if you are one of those fellow managers who has kind of been stung by the disqualification bug in the last 2 seasons. But yeah, overall, just abysmal weekend for Haas. What can you do? You just move on. I don't think Kevin Magnussen's going to get race banned for his collision with Sergio Perez, which is 50-50. I've seen some like differing opinions on whose fault was it, that kind of thing. It kind of looked like Perez maybe could have gotten over, but then why is K-Mag doing that? I don't know. It just seemed like kind of both people's fault. But since I have Kevin Magnussen on my F1 fantasy team, I'm just going to blame Sergio. So yeah, disaster. And Nico was not doing anything wrong, just got caught in the crossfire. Probably could have had a pretty decent race for the German driver. But we move on. I'll be all right. You'll be all right. We'll move on to Canada and we will see what happens there. Price explanation for Monaco. So the average score of the drivers rounded up was 5 points. So for a positive price change, you needed at least 3 points. If you wanted to go up to the next tier, you needed 8 points. And if you needed the max price change, you needed at least 15 points. For the constructors, the average score was 15 points. So you needed 8 points if you wanted to go up in budget, 23 points if you want the second price bump, and 45 points if you wanted the max bump. So I think I've explained it enough now, but I'll keep having this slide up for every review show just to show us where the kind of teardrops were for each prices. Going over here to the price changes from Monaco to Canada. So Verstappen went up 0.1, Norris went up 0.2. Leclerc, Sainz, Piastri, Russell, and Hamilton all went up 1 million. Sergio Perez went down 500,000. Alonso went up 0.1, and Stroll went down 0.1 as well. Leclerc is now 23.6 million. So he's 1.4 million away from jumping up to a tier A driver. So we do have to keep an eye on that. If he has a really good race in Canada again and goes up another million, we could be looking at, by the time we get to Austria, he is a tier A asset. And while, I mean, we don't, budget is becoming less important as the season goes along, as we get into I mean, we're now a third of the way through the season, but as we get further and further into the season, budget building becomes kind of less and less important. You do want to start prioritizing to get points. That's the whole point of this game. But I think I'm still in budget building mode personally, up until Austria, that third sprint, and then we'll see kind of where we are, like where the drivers are going. Because as you can see, like Verstappen's just really not rising that much in price. 30.5, 30.4 in Monaco, and now he's going to be 30.5 in Canada. A lot of F1 fantasy managers now have enough budget where if they want to get to Verstappen for one particular week, they can get there quite easily. 2 or 3 moves, sometimes a -10. They can activate the wild card if they want. But the Verstappen, Ferrari, Red Bull lineup is not as far out of reach as it was during the first 2 or 3 races of the season. However, not sure if that's the lineup we want to go with right now, because McLaren and Ferrari are crushing it. However, like I'll get to in the constructor price changes, but They're still the bottom half of the grid here. So Sonoda went up point 0.5, Ocon, Ricardo, Magnussen, and Hulkenberg all went down zero point 0.2. Zhou Guanyu, Sargent, and Gasly went down zero point 0.1. Albon rose zero point 0.5. I already said Sonoda rose zero point 0.5. Bottas with the 1.0 budget increase. So that was huge for him. He went from 6.5 to 7.5. He's now the third cheapest driver ahead of Zhou Guanyu and Logan Sargent. But yeah, Sonoda, I thought Sonoda would have a really good chance of jumping up quite a bit, but he just skated under that second price bracket. He couldn't quite make it to get the 1 million price bump. Would have been pretty nice, kind of softened the blow of the double Haas lineup, but still, he's driving so well right now. I would still say he's in the running for a Red Bull seat, but I know he's got the ties to Honda and stuff, but it just feels like he's driving so well. He's kind of rising while Perez is falling right now. So we will see how that goes during the summer break. And if there's any silly season to kind of break over the next 2 weeks, we'll see how that goes. But this is kind of what I wanted to get to here. McLaren, 25.5 million. They went up 1 million. They are now a tier A asset. We are not going to, if you are a budget building kind of squad at this point, you may not want to go with McLaren. If you can get up to Red Bull and Ferrari, that might be the better option, even though like Perez's form is not great. Obviously, he's now fifth in the drivers' championship, which is like stunning to me. And Ferrari's really taken it to Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. So it's definitely something to look out for. But yeah, as you can see, Red Bull didn't even rise in price. They didn't drop or rise. That might be the first time all season that I've seen an asset not rise or fall in price. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, McLaren went up 1 million, Ferrari went up 1 million, Mercedes up 1 million, Aston Martin 0.1, Visa Cash App RB 0.5, Sauber 0.5, Williams 0.5, Haas and Alpine went down 0.2 in the prices this week. So my kind of price change headlines here is in this slide is so got 5 points here. So McLaren promoted to tier A. They are not going to rise as much in price anymore. That doesn't mean that they're not a good F1 fantasy asset, especially if Oscar and Lando are just going to be crushing it in the top 5 every weekend, which it does look like they are going to be doing right now. We'll see how stuff goes in Canada, but for now, McLaren is just having a great month. They have had a phenomenal month. Miami and then Imola and now Monaco. That's not bad at all for a month of F1. Aston Martin remains in tier B. They kind of been yo-yoing up between tier B and tier C over the last month as well, but they didn't have a disastrous weekend. It wasn't great, but they stayed in tier B. So as long as they don't have a disastrous weekend, I think they are going to be in tier B to stay for the remainder of the season. So we don't have to look at them all that much. Leclerc, like I mentioned before, he's about 2 to 3 races away from getting promoted to tier A as well. So we need to kind of watch that. And then Piastri, he may be the next budget building bandwagon to jump on. And I don't mean that. I mean, a lot of people are already on Piastri. So also great job by them this weekend. My strategy this weekend did not work out. Looking back on it, it was a little presumptuous. It was a little hopeful. I was maybe trying to zag too much while others were kind of zigging there. I was trying to leave enough money in the bank just in case the curse hit Charles one more time in Monaco. So I'd have enough money to go to Verstappen. But based on the Friday data with Red Bull and even kind of when Verstappen kind of popped up there on Saturday mornings, FP3 times, it kind of locked that strategy in because I just felt like, is he going to pull this out one more time? Like he did in Imola. They had a terrible Friday. Red Bull had a terrible Friday in Imola. And then I was like, are they going to do it again in Monaco? But a lot of people went to Piastri. That was never really in my thoughts. So I'm not going to say like, oh, I was so close. If only I'd done this. Like, I think I just got it wrong last weekend. So not a great job by me there. If I had gone Piastri, I would have had to get rid of one of the Haas assets. So that would have been a miracle, I think, if I'd done that. And I've kind of dodged some decisions here or there so far this season. So I was probably just hopefully taking all my bad luck medicine in one race this season. But yeah, Piastri was really not on my radar, and I'll definitely have to make a change, kind of making him more of a priority to get in my team for Canada. So yeah, if Charles gets promoted to the Tier A assets, he might be the favorite over Perez and Carlos Sainz if he keeps performing the way he does. And then is Mercedes about to enter the mix after McLaren's rise to Tier A? If there are people who are looking to keep building some major budget, they really need to catch up to the rest of the field, which might be my team. I think my budget is pretty bad. I think it's like 114.9. I think there's a buddy in my mini league who's at 119 already. I'm like, how am I gonna catch that? But regardless, so yeah, McLaren or Mercedes look pretty good around Monaco. I'm not sure if that's just because it's Monaco, so slower cars can kind of get away with looking not great, but we'll see how it's going. Maybe Canada will be a cooler race that's supposed to suit the Mercedes car, so it could be a little advantage Mercedes heading to the Great White North in a couple of weeks. Here are the league updates for the F1 Fantasy Pole Position League. The season top 5 is Pesa Racing 3 jumped up to the top of the charts, 2134 points by him. Obi Guanyu Jobi, which is a great name. It's a little complicated, but it reminds me of some very good fantasy baseball team names back in the day. Sometimes the complicated ones are the best ones. You just got to say it a few times to get into it. Is at 2,131 points. Seat for Signs was 5th last week, has now jumped up 2,123 points. Middle pack is at 2,111, and the Jays has been knocked off the top spot for the first time in a few races, 2,105 points. As for Monaco, MC is Ferrari, 291 points. Great job by them over the rest of the field, which that's supposed to be 280 or 264 points there. Noise job M2 was in 3rd, and then there were 9 teams tied for 4th. Seat for Science, who is in 3rd in the overall league, was in that group with 257 points. Messed up the points a little bit there, but MC is Ferrari, Rostagar 9, and Noise Job M2 were the top 3 in Monaco this last weekend. Some early team thoughts here ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix in a couple of weeks. As you can see here, like I said, 114.5 million is the budget right now. Not doing all that great in the budget building department. Still, I'm happy with the overall rank here. As you can see, 3,400 in the world. Took about a 1,600 place red arrow after that disaster of a Haas weekend. So not great job by me. Pretty hurts quite a lot. But like I was saying here, so we need to think, or I need to think, because I think a lot of you already have done this. So I need to catch up to y'all about getting a certain Australian Oscar Piastri in the team. So how do I do this here? Oscar is 21.3. It's going to take some finagling. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to get this. Is it going to be worth me getting a wild card in here? Not so sure. Can I even get to that build? Yes, I can get to the Charles Oscar build, but it is not pretty. I could keep Nico in there, I guess, as well. But yeah, kind of brutal. I'd have to get rid of Valtteri. So this would definitely be a wild card build for me because I'd be taking 1, 2, 3 transfers. I guess I could take a -10, but I could wild card out of it kind of thing as well. But Charles here, if I didn't want to do something like that, keep K-Mag in and keep Bottas in, I could make some moves around the fringes. It looked like it was an okay weekend for Williams, but they were kind of saying over Friday, Saturday that they thought this was going to suit their car because they could qualify well and then not get passed on Sunday because it's so hard to pass. So I don't really believe in them as well. Maybe I shouldn't tilt too much and go all the way like away from Haas. Oh, sorry, had that wrong there. Like one bad race. They've been really strong all year. K-Mag has been a little bit of a wild thing, and I'm not sure how much longer I can stay there. I could get up from K-Mag to Fernando Alonso if Aston Martin gets it together and their upgrades look better, but this is now the second year in a row where their upgrades have not looked all that well. But I could get to this pretty easily, just one transfer, kind of roll it around. I've been using two transfers every week, and I'd like to maybe get back to rolling a transfer, having more flexibility heading into a weekend, especially a track like Spain, where there could be some upgrades coming along. But I don't think I'm going to get off of Charles unless we see something in the data. Canada will, there'll be a lot of info coming out over the next 2 weeks. By the time I get to the race preview episode next week, I've done a lot more research on the track, see like who we're predicting to kind of do pretty well in Montreal. But Charles right now is in some fantastic form, 45, 24, 33, 34, 30, just having a great season. He's now tied with Max Verstappen for the most F1 fantasy points in 2024 at 264 points. So great job by him. Season points here and the constructors, Red Bull's at 599, Ferrari just trailing them a little bit, 554, McLaren's here at 388, but really coming on strong here, 56, 64, 50 in the last 3 races for the Papaya Racing outfit. Mercedes kind of lagging there as well, but yeah, still not. I still think it's a 3-horse race here. McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull. Trying to think. McLaren, if I want to take McLaren out, I would still have 13.9 left, so I could use 2 transfers here to kind of bring, where'd he go? Lance Stroll in. If Red Bull gets it kind of sorted, they've had a couple of tough weekends with setup, but if Canada proves to be a lot better for them after they've kind of had a double, like Red Bull's had a double header, they'll have 2 weeks to kind of regroup, see where the car is, where they can improve. I'm kind of thinking that they will come back strong, so that could definitely be an option for me. If Max is lights out as well, that'll be a little bit tougher. That would leave me with 7 million, so I would be down with Logan Sargent here again, so that's not great either. But I'm thinking we're going to keep with kind of a Ferrari, McLaren heavy build for now. I think especially until we see Checo kind of prove that he's back in form. It's been a couple of tough races for him, so I don't expect us to go flocking back to the Mexican driver and even Red Bull as a constructor for now, just unless we have some like fly-in performances on Friday and we're like, oh, they fixed that. So we should maybe run for the hills a little bit there. But all these drivers getting more and more expensive. So these decisions are going to be pretty important, especially with how many drivers rose 1 million this last week. Myself, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball. Let me know what your budget is at. I'm at 114.5. I'm sure a lot of you are way above that, but there is still hope for us down, the rest of us down here in kind of the lower budget realm. The Haas guys, it was a bad weekend. They'll bounce back. Hopefully. There's also a rumor that I don't think it's been made official yet at the time of recording, which is 6:30 UK time, but it does sound like Alpine is really considering benching Esteban Ocon for the Canadian Grand Prix after his little collision with Pierre Gasly in the Monaco Grand Prix. So that is definitely something to watch. We could get maybe a cheaper Alpine asset going into Canada, like when Carlos Sainz had his appendectomy earlier in the year. They brought in Ollie Behrman and he was priced at 14 million. So definitely something to keep out on. I will tweet that out on X if we get any breaking news over the next couple of weeks, over the next few days. Hopefully they would give the driver a little bit of a heads up before the Canadian Grand Prix. But this is kind of where my head is at. Oh, just don't have a 5th driver there. But I think I could see myself if we get some data here from Aston Martin, maybe they start to look a little bit stronger. Lance's home race, you never know, stuff like that. We could maybe see me using that budget that I've got in the bank and getting back up to a Fernando Alonso. Although it's been tough for him recently, 9, 2, and 5, just not good at all for the green team on the grid. Although I guess they're not the only green team anymore because Kick Sauber is there as well. But let me know what your thoughts are heading into Montreal, like kind of where your team thoughts are at in the comments below, and we can just talk it out before we head north of the border for you guys stateside in F1 Fantasy. Just a little reminder of the upcoming tracks and dates that we've got in F1 Fantasy. So Canada is in a couple of weeks, June 7th through 9th. Spain is a couple of weeks after that, June 21st to the 23rd. And then there's another race, a sprint race after that in Austria, June 28th through the 30th. So got a couple of weeks here. Take a deep breath. If you had a bad week like me, just take a couple days off. Don't worry about it. Come back to the game. But if you had a great day, good job by you, obviously. And yeah, revel in those green arrows. But yeah, over the next couple of weeks here, I'm thinking that I will launch a new series that I'm pretty excited about for F1 Fantasy. I'll be interested to see if you guys respond well to it. Would appreciate any feedback whenever that goes up. Still kind of working through the format and seeing how it's kind of all going to play out. But pretty excited to launch some more F1 fantasy content as the summer rolls along in the European circuit, although we are off to Canada for the next race. But I hope you did well in Monaco. I hope your arrows were green. I hope the decisions went your way. Very happy for Charles Leclerc to get that first win in Monaco. The first time in 93 years of the race that a Monegasque citizen has won the race, or a Monegasque born driver has won that race. So great job by him. Great job by y'all if you had a good F1 fantasy weekend. And we will bounce back in Canada for the rest of us that did not do so hot, or if we had some Haas assets in our team. But once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. And I will talk to you next time.